and went right to it.
I just got a notification.
Let me know when the first person joins. I turned off subscriber mode.
Yeah, I see that.
No one's used to us going live on Wednesday. Okay, before people start joining the live stream, this is for the people that are watching it at a later date. I'm making sure my microphone is on. Making sure, check. All right, that looks good. This is the channel's first attempt at actually doing an unboxing live. So this will be a learning curve for the channel. If this works, we may continue to do it this way. That way there's no way of any foul play in the review. You'll see exactly what I see as I'm unboxing it. And we're going to try to do a detailed review as this channel is known for. I'm just waiting for the first person to actually join. This might take a while.
It says you got 4 people.
Okay, Linnell says we have 4 people. So here's the box. And I'm going to actually move this out of the way a little bit. This is the box that showed up. Like I said, this is our first time doing a live unboxing. So you're going to actually see exactly what I see for the first time. And if I go out of frame at any time, I tried to set the cameras up the best I could. When you actually do editing in the video, I can sometimes, zoom in, zoom out. I do have a cheaper camera set up that's corded in. That way we can look at the electronics. Sometimes I found you almost have to cut both sides. Almost creates a vacuum in the box. So this is Firefly's first really attempt at doing a, let's say, an 80's super Strat. And if you're familiar with the channel, you know I'm definitely 80's. I like the 80's. I play 80's hair music. So this guitar should be a good fit for me. I have high hopes. Now, the last Firefly I did, the top was just a thin piece that wasn't molded into the bottom piece. This particular one, you see how it's made? There's a rabbet for that foam piece to set in. So this is more typical from what I'm used to for that company. We had 3 pieces of tape on that end, 2 on this end. And the big moment here. We can see that that is the standard styrofoam sarcophagus that I'm used to seeing from this company. I actually like this way of shipping guitars. I've said it before, as long as the box takes the damage and not the instrument, I'm good. So right here we do have a goodie bag. We're going to keep it this time because this is a Floyd Rose. So it looks like we've got 2 Allen wrenches, the tremolo bar, a truss rod tool, and of course the cheap Radio Shack cord. And here's the guitar. So I want to check it for a fit, since this is one of their newer designs. And this is probably the best one I've seen from them as far as fitting in the case. There's really no movement whatsoever. So it's a really good fit. And feeling the guitar, this guitar feels heavy. And if you know the channel, this is my favorite part. I like taking the rubber band off and looking at the headstock for the first time. Now in the photos, this thing had a really cool looking headstock. That is definitely cool. Now right off the bat, the back of this neck is very dark. It said it was a roasted maple. And if you're used to the videos, normally I go into squirrel mode here. But being that we're doing this live, there is no squirrel mode. And that is quite a tight fit. And the leopard print does not go on the back of the guitar. It's just on the front. And I do see a little bit of roasting right here. Well, not roasting, flame in the neck. That's quite sharp. You can tell how dark it is. And of course, this guitar has the ball-end frets. And the tremolo right here does actually say Floyd Rose. So this is the first time that I've seen the actual production Floyd Rose bridge that's the cheaper one. This is not the special. This is the model under the special. So this is the first one I've been able to review that's been a full production version. The FFMN that we did have some Floyd Rose components, but that was before they started stamping out their own base plates. Looking at the guitar right now, if you can see, I have not tuned the instrument, but as it is sitting right now, the bridge is not parallel with the body. We do have a piece of plastic on the pickup here. Let's take that off. There we go. I guess the first thing we should do is just look at the general fit and finish on the guitar. Since it has this wild paint job, I'm going to look at how well it was masked and see if I see any overspray or anything weird on the taping. And I'm seeing some spots right here on the black. I don't know if that'll clean up or not, but there are a couple little spots on the black. But as far as the lines on all this little detail work, I'm not seeing any ghosting, and I'm not feeling a ridge when I run my finger across it. If I close my eyes, it feels smooth. So that means this was wet sanded and clear coated and then sanded and then buffed out. Looks pretty sharp. Looking at our buttons here, this is the typical Firefly mushroom strap button. And that one appears to be setting straight on the horn. And this button here seems to be off-centered just a little bit to the neck and the bridge. Now these are ball-end frets. So I want to look down the frets and I want to see if I see any bad frets. And I'll hold it up like this. It's very hard for me to judge. in reality, as far as fret alignment, I'm going to say that this is the best Firefly I've ever received. Even over the purple and black sandblasted Super Strat that we did about 7 or 8 months ago, which that neck was really good. This one is awesome. I mean, that's as near perfect as I can imagine them ever being able to press in frets with the ball ends. That is actually really, really, really good. Looking at our body here, this does have quite a substantial round over. I'm going to say that this is about a 3/8 inch round over. It could even be a 1/2 inch. It does have a very large round over. We do have an arm carve right here. And this round over goes all the way around, back into the neck pocket. Looking at our neck pocket here, I'm not seeing any cracks or anything funny. This round over does look nice, and it's even to the neck on both sides. That's nicely done. We do have a tummy carve right here on the back. And we do have a carve right here. Now they have chamfered the body of the guitar. One, it's chamfered this way, and it's also chamfered this way. So if we look at it, we can see that it is smaller on this end than this end, plus chamfered this direction. That's going to make grabbing the guitar like this a little easier. It feels comfy. Now looking at our back cover, it feels tight. The screws feel like they're down even to the plate. And something I've noticed, Firefly has done a lot of correcting on these plates. Notice these rotted grooves in the plate. And the screw is right there. It's easy to adjust that claw. Sometimes they route these and it's a generic plate and it doesn't align to the claw screws. So you still can't really get in there unless you put the screwdriver in on an angle and it strips the screws. The screw is right there. That's a good job. Looking at our electronics cover, and immediately something I'm seeing. There's 2 screws only. There is no screw right here. 2 screws on that cover, in my opinion, is not substantial enough. You can hear it. There's a lot of bounce in that plate. That screw couldn't cost more than 2 or 3 cents. At least put a 3rd screw in it. It really should have 4. But there's 1 screw here, 1 screw here. So I'm going to say that's a miss on Firefly's part. Looking right here at our steel plate, this screw looks good, this screw looks good, this screw looks good, but this screw here has some damage. I don't know if that's going to show up on the camera, but it's definitely, the paint is flaking off around the Phillips head. Is that a problem? No, but it is a brand new guitar, and it really shouldn't have hardware or a screw that doesn't have full coverage on the paint. So we do have 1 screw there showing some signs of wear. Looking at our neck, now our last Firefly, this seat cut was even to the body. If we see here this flat part where it sets into the seat of the neck pocket, it's flat. So they're not following the contour of the body here. This comes over into a point and ramps out to the flat spot. It feels fine. It's well sanded. But everyone knows I do like it to follow the contour. Looking at how it's setting into the guitar, it looks tight here. And I am seeing just a little bit of a crack right here. So I'm going to assume that there's probably a shim in this one. Looking at the fingerboard, this is two different materials, so this isn't one solid piece of maple. It is a glued on fretboard. Looking at this glue line across here, I can see that there's more space here than there is here. So there is a negative kickback on the neck. And playing guitars over the years and reviewing guitars, I have found guitars with a negative kickback. I kind of like it. I don't like the strings to be parallel, perpendicular, well, actually parallel to the body. I like a little tilt. This neck has that. As far as feeling the seam here between the fretboard and the back of the neck, the glue up, it feels smooth. And again, this radius comes around and it breaks right at that glue joint. So it comes around right at the glue joint, it kicks into the neck. As far as the break of the fretboard around to the neck, it is rounded just a little bit. It feels nice. So they have broken that edge all the way down the neck. Feeling the ball end frets, I don't feel any sharp frets. Of course, they're ball end frets. When we play the guitar, we'll see if it has the ball end fret problem. Sometimes when you're playing, the high E will get stuck underneath the back of the fret when it rolls off. And a lot of that is, since you're balling the end of the fret like that, it reduces the amount of space between the string and the edge of the neck. And as you're playing, sometimes that string will kick off. Especially if you strum hard, the string will vibrate and it'll catch. Looking at our nut to our neck, the neck does stick out past the nut on both sides, just a little bit. So the nut width is a little smaller than the neck width right here. It's not completely smooth. But the neck itself and the contours, again, even with this guitar, it's very smooth. Not feeling any funny mist sand spots in the neck. It feels nice. Now this guitar does not have the locking tuners. It does have regular tuners on it. And they probably figured, well, since they're putting the lock nut on it, we don't need to put locking tuners on it. Really, that's just for the speed of changing strings. We do have a string tree right here. And we'll have to check and make sure when we tune the guitar, when you tighten this nut, does it change the pitch of the string? Because that can be changed by how the string tree here is set. I don't want to tune these because these are locked. But I'm sure they're all set straight. I'm sure we're definitely going to have to tune the instrument. But I'm not seeing anything bad with the hardware as far as the finish. The tuning keys look nice. I guess, since we're doing this live, I'm going to pull my bench over here. I guess the first thing we should do is kind of check the neck. And I have no idea what I did with my straight edge. I thought I put all my tools over here. So I guess we'll first check the frets. Let's see how well the frets were leveled. I do want to find my gauge for the neck. I could have swore I put it up there. But we'll do this first. Maybe Linnell can walk out here and find my other gauge. I'm looking over on the table and I'm not seeing it. I could have swore I put it up here. Anyway, let's start checking the frets. We're going to start up here. It's the notch trowel. You see it sitting over there? Maybe it's in the... She's looking for it.
This thing?
That's what we're looking for. So let's first check the neck relief. So I'm assuming this guitar is 25.5. I'm going to set the guitar up here. So this is the factory neck relief. And there is just a little light right here. I'm going to say that that neck has probably 0.3 millimeters of relief. It's almost perfectly straight. Okay, now let's check the frets. And of course, if this wasn't live, we would go into squirrel mode. But since we're live, we can't do squirrel mode.
Nicholas said it's a split coil full volume.
So Firefly, the very first guitar I ever reviewed from Firefly, if you go back, it was probably almost 2 years ago now. It had horrible fretwork. And it was pretty funny because that guitar, well, right here we do have a little bit of a rock. I don't know if you can hear that. There is a little bit of rock right there between the D and the G. Moving up one, it disappears. So it looks like just a little bit of rock right there. If I slide it down, yeah, one spot right there on that fret. But what I was saying is Firefly, as far as this channel is concerned, they've been doing pretty well on the fret leveling. And I'm comparing that to other guitars that we've reviewed on the channel. For the most part, I've had better luck with the Firefly fret leveling. Firefly fret leveling versus all the other budget guitars. That doesn't mean that they're perfect. They usually have one or two spots, but they're usually not horrible. It's when you run into a fret and it'll rock, and then you move it down one fret and it rocks again. That's a sign of a low fret. Low frets are hard to fix because that means you've got to sand them all. I can deal with one fret being high. That's easy to fix. But when you slide down one fret and it rocks here, and then you slide up again and it rocks, that's hard to fix. Like I said, you've got to do all the frets at that point. Right there, when I say it's a little bit, it's very, very little. Most people would call that good, but I am pointing it out. And again, most people would call that good, but there is, when I say just a little bit, it's just like this spot. But I'm pointing it out. So I'm going to say this guitar has one spot here. Unless the client was like really, really stupid picky, as a tech, I would not bother these. Simply because I would most likely be polishing the frets anyway. So I would repair this one, polish the frets, and then I'd go back and double check it. That's so close, even polishing could take that little bit out. All in all, I'd say it's pretty good. Now, feeling this neck, the frets feel a little scratchy. They're not, there's been a couple Fireflies we've reviewed here where the frets were just really, really, really smooth and really shiny. And these frets really aren't that shiny. I can see that they were done. It does look like they were polished, but they're not super shiny. Right now I'm just looking at the frets, looking for tooling marks. Right there's some goo on that fret that did come off. I'm not really seeing any scratches, but they're not really super shiny, and I can feel it. Sometimes Firefly uses very cheap strings, and sometimes the cheaper strings will give it that feel too. But I would say that these frets would play in, but they do have a little scratch to them. So let's check the radius of the neck. I've got a 12-inch radius gauge here. So let's check it and see what we got. It's actually pretty close. And it's touching in the center and loose on either end there. So that's making me think that this may be a compound radius. I have a 10, so let's check the top with the 10. And the 10 looks pretty good. I do see just a little bit there and a little bit there. So this is probably a 9.5 at the top. We're going to call it a 9.5 at the top. I have a 14, so let's check a 14 down at the base. The 14 showing a gap on either side. So I'm thinking the 12 looks a little better. Let's double check the 12. Yes, the 12 looks much better. So I'm going to say this is a 9.5 to 12. Okay, let me grab a cord here. We're going to plug in the guitar. As soon as I find the jack, we're going to take our tester. We're going to plug our tester in. I have to be careful because my leads just poke on here. I actually need to make a true guitar cable with a 1/4-inch jack on this end with my leads. That way we can actually not worry about bad connections. It's on my to-do list. I'm going to try to lay that over there and keep the connection good. Let's power up the meter. First thing we want to do is we want to switch it to 20 ohms. Since this is just a volume, and it does have a push-pull. So we're going to check the bridge pickup. I guess it's humbucker mode when it's pushed down, and it's reading 15.10. When I pull up on the coil, it's reading 7.65. Down on the coil, and it's going, yeah, 15.10. Now what we want to do is I'm going to switch my meter over to 20H. We want to check the henries. So with the volume all the way up, push down, we're reading 5.89 henries. And when it's split, it's reading 2.7172. And again, I'll show the meter. Push down. Now that's a really high reading on the henries. What that's telling me is they've cheaped out on the wire. Okay, they've added stronger magnets and less windings to get this reading here on 20k ohms to read 15.11. Is that a bad thing? That's up to you. Once you start to realize your ohms to your henries and what you guys like, that'll tell you whether or not this pickup is something that you're going to like. But usually when the henries read high like that, that's a good sign that they've put high strength magnets in and they haven't put as many winds on it. Copper's expensive, so the magnets are cheaper, so they can make a high output pickup for less money. Let's turn that off. So let's get some neck readings. And my calipers here. I'm going to turn them on and zero it out. And up here at the nut, we're going to measure the first fret. At the first fret, we have 44.01. And right at the nut, we have 43.50. So that makes sense. Excuse me. This is most likely an R3 nut at 43 millimeters. And that's why we're a little shy right here, because it's reading 43.5. So this is probably a 43-inch locking nut. So let's check it at our 12th. And at the 12th, I have 52.51. And then our very last fret, or neck, on the last fret on the neck, we have 56.71. Now, I don't have much room to adjust this. So let's open up the bag here. Let's loosen the locking nuts. We got to get some tools out. So here's the two Allen wrenches. Our truss rod tool. Our tremolo bar. And of course our cord. So while we have this, let's double check the tremolo bar, see how well it threads on. Sometimes I've noticed with Floyd Roses, sometimes these thread-on nuts sometimes don't like to start very well. And I'm checking for slop. And there is a little slop in the bar. We can see the bar is moving and the tremolo is not. Which I kind of felt that it was going to do that, as this is the cheaper Floyd Rose bridge, even cheaper than the special. This is kind of their budget bridge. All right, let's grab our tool here. We're going to unlock these. And I'm going to loosen the strings. We're going to get some measurements on the thickness of the neck. Just give it enough room here where we can get the calibers under it. Even though we're doing this live, I want to keep to the content of this channel. This channel tries to do detailed reviews. We are not a demo channel here. We're more about finding out the specs and how well the guitar is constructed, more so than grabbing the guitar and just jamming out. So let's zero it. I'm going to try to fit this directly under the strings at the first fret here. So right at the first fret we have 23 millimeters. And I want to double check that. Let's do it twice. Since we are doing this live, I want to make sure that I'm giving accurate information. That time we have 22.7. So we're going to try it one more time. And 22.5. So I'm going to say it's probably between 22.5 and 22.7, depending on your guitar. So let's check it at the 12th. And it's exactly the same, 22.5. So we're going to check it again. And that time I got 22.47. So it seems like the neck is exactly the same, or they're trying to shoot for it, so there's no taper. Of course, we always have sanding errors and stuff like that, but that's pretty close. And then looking at where the neck gets thick, right here where my finger is. So it looks like it's right at the between the 13th and 14th fret is where the neck is getting wide. Okay, now let's take our Robertson tuner and let's actually tune the instrument. I'm just going to leave it on the floor. I don't have an overhead camera. So we're just going to give the guitar a quick tune. Of course, we just went way out here on the low E, the A, and the... So let's get it close. And we're going to see how well the bridge comes up. See if it sets parallel to the body. That'll tell us if they actually did a setup on the Floyd Rose, or whether or not the guitar was just put together at the factory and put in the box. So I'm just trying to get a little tension back on it. Of course, this is a floating bridge, so this may take some time. How do they say it's about as exciting as watching paint dry?
Tom Sarpanian wants to know what is it about a Floyd Rose that makes it hard to tune?
All right, when Nell's reading the questions, on the Floyd Rose bridge, the reason it's harder to tune a Floyd Rose is you have string pressure. It's the easiest way of explaining it. You have pressure between the tuning key and the bridge. Okay? That string, you're stretching the string. So that string doesn't want to be stretched. So it's pulling on the bridge. Okay? So as it pulls, it wants to pull the bridge this way because there's springs underneath. So the strings are pulling the bridge on the top. That's the strings. And then under the guitar, the springs are pulling the bridge. So you have to have the spring tension and the string tension the same. That way, this part of the bridge has to set parallel, to the body, parallel to the body. That you want it to actually set right there. Okay. The reason for that is that means the bridge is set. It's equilibrium. There's just as much spring pressure as there is string pressure. That's why a lot of people with the Floyd Rose, when you have it set up for 440 tuning, that's what it's set up for. As soon as you engage a drop D, like the Eddie Van Halen drop D, you'll notice the bridge will move just a little bit. You've changed the tension of the springs or the strings. So, of course, the bridge kicks forward, you don't have as much tension. That's also another reason why if you're tuned to 440 and the bridge is set right, a lot of the 80's hair metal is played 3540. It's down a half step. So what ends up happening, now the bridge is going to come up because now you have too much spring pressure. Actually, it'll go down like this. It'll roll towards the back of the body because the spring pressure now is more than the string pressure. The reason it's harder to tune, as you tighten these strings, it's pulling on the bridge. So then the springs underneath give. So each time you tune it, the tremolo moves. So you just got to keep tuning it until you find that equilibrium. And that doesn't mean that when you get it in tune, that it's going to be right. You can still be off on the tremolo. And that's kind of what it's looking like we're going to be on this one. I'm looking at the D here. It's looking like our bridge is going to be set a little too much spring pressure on the bridge. And I'm rolling up the B now. Hopefully that gives you a good interpretation or a good. My squirrel brain's acting up tonight. That's a good explanation of what happens with a Floyd Rose. So as I'm tuning it, I'm increasing the string tension. Okay, so as I do that, that's pulling up on the bridge. So I'm going to try one more time. That's pretty decent. That's pretty decent. I'm not trying to get it perfect. So with it in almost tune, you can see the bridge is a little low on this side versus this side. So that's the factory setup. So that's telling me that there's a little bit too much pressure on the springs. And the reason earlier I said this is so nice, we can get our screwdriver in here. I just lost my towel. These are all the things that get edited out doing regular videos. This is what I was saying earlier. See how well the screwdriver fits right into that screw? It's well thought out. Now I'm only going to give it a quarter turn on both. I'm going to say about right there. Let me get my towel back up here. And it wants to continue to slide around, doesn't it? So let's double check it again. So all I did was loosen the pressure a little bit. And of course it went down from E to D sharp. So we're going to bring it up to tune. and then back again. And the E fell off a little bit. Same with the A. And again, we want to look at the bridge. So notice the bridge is a little better, but it still needs more. So we're going to, again, take our screwdriver. I'm going to take a little bit more out. And again, retune the instrument. I'm going to move the bar a little bit. And if y'all can hear, that's my daughter in the background playing Xbox. I would say it's a calm night. Usually she giggles much louder. So we want to look at it again. That's pretty good. So we're going to check it right there. And I do have my tuner here. I don't think you're going to be able to actually see it. I'm going to try to set it up on top of the guitar here. So that's our E. And we're going to check our first fretted note here. That's our F. And it is spinning, so the F is a little sharp. Let's check our 12th. And the intonation is really good. So the E is good. Let's look at our A. A on the 12th. The A is good. Let's check our first fretted note. And our A sharp is just a little sharp. Looking at our D, let me give it a quick tune here. There we go. And on the 12th, it's really good. First three strings are spot on. There's our G. Open. G on the 12th. Open. Again, that's really good. Let's look at our first fretted note. Our G sharp is just a fraction sharp. And there's our B. I'm giving it a tune real quick. B on the 12th. And our B is just a fraction flat on the 12th. But flat is more pleasing to the ear than sharp. So I would prefer that the B be a little bit on the flat side. Actually, on all intonation, it's better to be on the flat side. It's more pleasing to the ear. Let's check our first fretted note on the B. And our C is just a fraction sharp. So there's our high E. High E on the 12th. again, the intonation on this guitar is set really well from the factory. And our F is just a fraction sharp. So that's telling me that if you wanted to, you could take this nut off. It's consistent across the board. You could take a couple thousandths of an inch off the bottom of the nut and lower the nut on the guitar to get that first fretted note just a little better. And you can see right here, there is a little bit of room. Before we go too far with that thought, let's unplug the guitar. Let's check the action height from the factory, because everything affects everything. So before you start cutting into the nut, you want to check your string height here. So on the 12th, on the low E, this guitar is set just a fraction high, and we can check it now because we have our bridge set parallel to the body. Before it was setting up, which increases the string action height. As you lower this, the fulcrum point of that string increases, which increases your string action height. So now that the bridge is set, on the low E, it is set to 0.075. That's on the high side for a factory setup. And our high E is set dead perfect at 0.070. So that's telling me you could go just a little bit lower on the bridge. Now, before you go and adjust these two screws, you need to get the pressure off this bridge. Do not stick a tool in these posts and turn these screws with that pressure on that bridge. You will destroy the knife edges of this tremolo, or any tremolo. People talk about, oh, my tremolo doesn't stay in tune anymore, and you see them over there and they got the tool that's just turning it. Basically, that's just grinding that screw in that knife edge. Okay? Always loosen your strings. Try to pull back on the bridge. Take that pressure off. Make your adjustment. It takes a long time because then you have to retune the instrument. You got to get everything back set up properly with a Floyd Rose. It's getting it set perpendicular to the bridge, where it's not perpendicular, parallel to the body. Check your string action height again, then repeat the process until you get it right. Once you get your string action height right, check your first fretted note, and then that'll tell you what you need to do with the nut. It all works together. You can't do the nut. You end up chasing your tail. But this is how the guitar is set up and how I received it from Guitar Gardens. It's a pretty standard setup, 0.075. That is on the high side. Most companies, 0.07, 0.075. That's on the high side of a factory setup. So I guess now at this point, we can do our last check. And this is something most people don't really realize that you can adjust. I'm going to set my tuner back up here. And that's our low E. I'm looking at my fine tuners here just before I tighten everything up. So I want to get the low E as close as I can get it. That's not too bad. Now let's get our A. Now we're going to check our string tree. All right. As I tighten this nut right here, the tuning should not change. Okay. There's an angle on this nut. Okay. When that bottom of that string hits the bottom of this nut, it needs to follow the angle of the nut. If it isn't, and the string tree is set too high, and the angle of that string coming into the base of this nut isn't the same, when you tighten this down, it'll push down on the string on the back side, which increases the pitch of the string. So let's hit the string. There's our E. let's tighten it up and see how well the factory did setting the string tree. And it did increase the pitch just a little bit. That's not horrible though. So what I'm going to do is I'm literally going to loosen it. I'm going to stretch the strings a little bit here. And I'm going to bring the E up to where it's a little low, just for the demonstration purposes of this video. Going to be a little on the low side. Alright, let's tighten those two up. These are brand new strings, so they are definitely going to stretch. Just me tuning the strings, these two strings have thrown the E and the A out, guaranteed. Usually, on a floating bridge like this, it takes maybe 24 hours just sitting here at the house to get it to equalize. I usually don't lock the locking nut till the next day. I'll play the guitar without the locking nut being locked. And then the following day, I'll go ahead and lock it down. But for this video, we are locking it. Alright, let's go through and do our last tune. Like I said, I figured it would knock it out because we tuned the other strings. So again, we're chasing the tune because it's a floating bridge. I'd say we're pretty good. Now for the fun part, guys. We're going to plug this thing in and actually see what it sounds like. I do have my standard rack mount rig over here ready to play. I guess I need to get a guitar cord, plug it in, and turn on the power amplifier. So here we got our cord. Plug our first cord in. Now I'll take it over to the rack and plug it in and turn on the power amp. This is our first time ever doing a live review. So if the volume of the guitar is not correct, I apologize. Alright, we do have a different microphone, so I'm going to turn that microphone on. Now I'm going to check OBS. I have no idea what that sounds like because I'm leaving this microphone on so you can hear me. But I have my SM57. You can see, I don't know if it's in the camera view or not, facing my 412 cabinet. So that's our volume all the way up. Now let's split the coil. You can definitely tell it gets thinner. Let's go back to humbucker mode. You can tell I've knocked it out of tune. I wouldn't expect anything other than that. We just tuned it up, just locked it. These strings are going to stretch. So let's give it one quick tune. Let's see how far out we are. And it looks like we've almost went down a whole half step, believe it or not. We'll give it a quick tune here. That's why usually, like I said, on a floating guitar like this, I usually don't lock down the nut till the next day. Feeling the fine tuners? They feel okay. Do they feel as smooth as my 1000s or my German Floyd Roses? No, they do not. But they're not scratchy like some of the cheap clone Floyd Rose bridges I've played. They do have a smooth feel to them. So I'm going to say the feel of the tuners feel good, especially for this price point. Keep in mind, guys, this guitar shipped to my door was like $296. So a Floyd Rose German bridge costs that amount. So you're getting the whole guitar with a Floyd Rose for the price of just the German Floyd Rose. We're going to give it one more play, then I'm going to set the guitar down and we're going to open up the chat. This is the first time that we've ever done this, so I'm kind of curious to answer some questions on anything that I may have missed. What I hear right there when I first come off the bridge, you'll notice that one, it went out just a fraction, but it has since returned. And you can hear we're just slightly out of tune again. But I'd say the guitar has a really nice tone to it. It has the tone that I think they were shooting for. It definitely has that 80's tone to it. Let's split the coil. I definitely like it better full humbucker. All right, we're going to open up the chat window. See what you guys actually have to say. I'm going to switch over to my other camera. So I'm not turning my back on you, but I am going to face the screen and turn on the other camera. Okay, guys, we're going to do some flipping around here. Let me now open up my chat window. Okay, this is the first time that I actually got to see the chat. Hi, guys. Hopefully this first attempt at doing a live review went okay. I'm sure I missed some things, but I actually tried to cover everything we normally cover on our reviews. Of course, we did not open up the cavity and look at the solder joints and stuff like that, but we did look at all the specs. We got some pickup readings. I went over how it was in the box. From what I'm seeing, guys, the factory setup wasn't bad as far as the intonation on the guitar. I think they nailed the intonation part. I think where they lacked a little bit was the actual spring setup. And what's sad is, even though I've adjusted that claw, it's probably thrown the intonation out now just a little bit, because everything you do, like I said, affects something else. So releasing the spring tension and bringing that bridge forward moved the saddles probably 0.2 millimeters, that direction, maybe 0.3. And if you remember, they were all pretty much spot on. So I'm going to say the intonation now is probably just a fraction on the flat side. Would I necessarily mess with it? Probably not. I would not mess with it with these strings. Looking at my hands, yes, yeah, I have the Firefly fingers. If anyone was curious, it does have the cheap Firefly strings. Definitely had to put strings on the guitar. So get two sets of strings, okay? Because by the time you get the intonation set on a Floyd Rose, loosening the string, tightening the string, checking, you're going to wear the strings out and they're going to break pretty quickly. So always keep with the exact same string gauge and keep with the same manufacturer. Put the first set on it, get the intonation right. Maybe wait 2 or 3 days, put your new strings on. Now something with a Floyd Rose I never do. You see guys, they just clip, 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 they clip off. Never do that. Take your E off, replace the E string. Get the new E string up to tune. Take your old A, remove the A string, put your new A string on, bring your A up to tune. That way you're not taking all the pressure off the neck and you're not going to be chasing the tremolo. If you take one string off at a time, you're putting the new string on, you're putting the pressure back on the neck. Will you have to adjust the bridge? Most likely, just a little bit. But it's not near as bad as if you took all the strings off and now the tremolo just slams against the body. You can also put one of those little plastic pieces underneath the bridge and bring it in. But if you do it the way I'm saying, usually you don't have to do that because you're keeping the pressure on the bridge and it should never fall back to where you can't get the tool in for your locking nuts. I've been doing that for 30 years. I've never had a problem. I always cringe when I see people take all the strings off. I even do it on non-locking guitars without Floyd Roses. That's just me. I'm going to turn off my other microphone. I'm sure it's picking up the amplifier. So, let me go back. Does anyone have a question? Now's the time to put questions up, and hopefully I can answer it since the guitar is right here in front of me. I'm trying to see if I've got everything. What I have here, guys, is a mess. I've got the box over here. Normally I shoot a part, then I edit it, and I shoot the next part, and I edit it, and I shoot the next part, and I edit it. So I'm looking around trying to find everything, and it looks like a bomb went off in front of my computer. So any questions whatsoever? Yeah, I see Juke 5000 put Satchel Lynch guitar. I guess. Yeah, I guess that is kind of a Satchel ripoff, isn't it? Put on a Jackson neck and you've got gold. Guys, I've been doing enough reviews now where I'm kind of seeing past the headstock label. I don't really care who makes the guitar, as long as it plays good and I feel that I got my money's worth. Okay? Just on this review, okay, $300. I know Firefly, everyone's doing these reviews and it's jacking the price up. $300. It's got a cool paint job. Okay? The neck and the fretwork is good on the guitar. We found one spot up here and then 2 little teeny weeny spots down here. Believe me, it's a good neck. Could I get it better? Sure. I would go through with a fret kisser and just fix this one fret and I'd polish the frets. It does have a little bit of a scratchy feel to the frets, but so did my Squire when I first got it. And after about a month of playing that guitar, the scratchy feel went away. Like right here, I don't feel it. But right there, I do a little bit. So I do think these frets would play in pretty quickly. But would they ever have the glass smooth feel? Probably not for a year or so. So if you really like the glass smooth feel, you would have to polish the frets on the guitar. But for $300, really you can't go wrong. I would like to take this bridge apart and actually take a file to the knife edges. I'm curious to see how hard this metal is. Is it the same hardness as the special? As long as your base plate's good and your screws are good here, your posts, it's a good mod platform. You can always put stainless steel saddles and upgraded hardware on it and upgrade the block. Now, we did not look at the block inside. It's kind of hard to see in there what's actually in there. But guarantee it's got the small block. But it seems like for the price point, I'm going to say that this is a good buy. Um, Now, like I said, I know people are going to say, "Oh, it's Firefly. It should be 200." Um, if you're getting a Floyd Rose licensed product, well, it's not even licensed. It's an actual Floyd Rose bridge. Even though that this is the one under the special, that's still adding at least, on their price end. I'm going to say they're at least paying $35, $40 for this bridge at bare minimum, and that's if they're buying a lot of them. So with that in mind, I'm going to say they're still batting 1,000 on this one. I don't think this guitar could go to the 350 mark. I'm going to qualify that because I haven't played an SBS, and the SBS is set up just like this, exact same bridge. I don't know if the SBS comes with locking tuners or not, and I know they're at like 350, but you are getting another pickup. You're only getting one pickup with this guitar. But you are getting the flame maple neck. And I don't know if that's, yeah, it's showing up a little bit on the camera there. You can see it right here. I don't know if the SBS has the flame maple neck or not. Now this one doesn't have a lot of flame to the neck, but it does have a little bit. Overall, the fit and finish on the guitar looks good. Like I said, we get one screw here with a little bit of damage, where the paint's coming off a little bit. And we did find that there's only 2 screws holding this cover plate on. If on the second production run, if Firefly adds at least 1 screw to this plate, I would put 2 more on it. I'd put 1 here, and 1 here, 2 spots. I think that would fix that problem. And locking tuners from Firefly, I don't like the short posts. So I'm gonna say on this particular guitar, these tuners are fine. If they wanted to put locking tuners on the guitar and keep it, I think that would be a bonus. It's just for speed of changing the strings. But all in all, I'd say this is a pretty nice guitar. This is going to be one that I think I'm going to do some hot rodding to. We did check the pickup, and the Henrys were high, like 5.8 or something. I don't remember what it was. So that's telling me that these are high output magnets and low whines on the pickup. I think I'll put a hot rodded pickup in it, maybe a JB or something. Or I might actually, I have some pickups downstairs. I think they're Revaliants or something. I can't remember what they are. They were sent to me from the manufacturer for me to review. So this might be a good guitar to put those pickups in. So I'm going to look at the chat here, guys. So Jerry White, is the trim not marked? It is a Floyd Rose tremolo. It is the, oh, we could check that. Kurt Inscale wants to know if the pickups are microphonic. Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. No, they are not. Check, 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 check. And you can hear the amp is on. Check, check, check. So nothing coming through the amp. We're going to split the coil. Check, 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 check. And just for giggles, let's see if we can determine which coil is dropping. So it is dropping the back coil. So in the split mode, it's playing the forward coil closer to the neck. Yeah. So you're getting the front coil in the split. when you do a fret job, how do you go about it? Jerry, if you go to my channel, main page, well, give me 1 second, guys. Let me go out in the kitchen and grab something real quick. I pride myself on content. If you guys notice, I don't really post a lot of quick videos on, oh, Marshall did this or Marshall did that or talking about another channel. I try, when I do a video, I try to do content that will be relatable and good content for years down the road. I actually try to review guitars that I know manufacturers will continue to make. Like some of the Grote stuff no longer is manufactured by Grote. Firefly has been pretty decent. Some of the guitars that I reviewed a year ago, they're still manufacturing. Leo James is still manufacturing some of the guitars that we reviewed. So I try to pick things that'll be relevant. Going back to Jerry's thing, if you go to my channel, I have all kinds of mod videos, and I'll show you how to tape off the fretboard, and I'm going to show you 2 or 3 different ways. Just because this video will say fret leveling or rework doesn't mean you shouldn't watch the other one, because my very first review that we did, or modification, I used a StuMac Z file, and I show how to roll the file on the fret so you don't end up with pyramid frets. Okay, I show how to crown the fret properly with a Z file. I also show dressing the frets on the end, how to roll the file across. And I think I actually do another video using the fret Ruru, which is a radius file, how to use that type file. Little things like that. How to tape off the fretboard to where you're not spending 30 minutes peeling the tape off the fretboard. I've got a tape trick that if you tape off the neck this way, you'll be able to get the tape off the neck in 2 minutes versus 10 minutes of peeling all the little pieces of tape off. I show you how to polish it, okay, because polishing the frets, you can stay too long, heat up the frets, and they expand. Got all kinds of videos on fret leveling and dressing up frets. Watch them all, because I try to show different ways of doing it, okay? Just like cutting a nut. I got one video, and a lot of people give me grief about it. Oh, you should never cut a nut that way. Well, I'm doing it with a piece of sandpaper, okay, with no tooling. All I'm using is my tuner, okay? I'm not gauging the string with feeler gauges or anything. I'm just looking at the tuner and feeling the note on how much pressure to put on, and I show you how to cut the note. If you've got a piece of sandpaper and a tuner, you can do it. Now I qualify that. You can cut too deep. Once you cut too deep, you've went too far and you got to replace the nut, or you got to take nut dust and CA glue and put in the groove and start over, and then I actually show a different way using feeler gauges. So each video will show a different way of doing something, and it's all based on your skills, your experience, or the tools that you have, okay? So go back and look at it. There's all kinds of tutorials on how to do it. Yeah, you've seen the tape trick video. That's cool. Again, guys, I am a smoker, so I'm going to have a cigarette. So what do you guys think? This is my first time doing a review like that. I don't know how the guitar tones come across in the room. I'm going to say that this pickup sounds like a weak JB. That's kind of what it sounds like to me. It has a mid punch like a JB. It does have decent bottom end, but it seems like it's a little weaker output. I deliberately did not change a knob on my amplifier, okay? And I was just playing the Significant Other's new Chapman, okay, last night, and I was playing my go-to guitar, which is my Kramer Night Swan. Both those guitars have decent output. When I plugged this guitar in, listening to the room volume, it didn't seem like I was getting the push that those other two guitars have. And again, I want to qualify, my Kramer has two JBs in it. Those two JBs are $200. This guitar was only $300. So the Chapman has Seymour Duncans in it as well. So those are at least $250 pickups. I'm thinking for the price point, this is a decent guitar. Do you need to replace the pickup? No. I've said it a million times. You're going to get more response out of your amp, EQing your amp, than you will changing the pickup. Am I going to put a different pickup in it? Yep. I'll probably put a JB in it, or I'll put my favorite active pickup in it. I think I might do that. I might put an EMG 89 in this. I think that might be the way I go. I miss playing my Peavey, which had the EMG 89 on it. And this might be a good platform to put that on it. I don't know what you guys think of the EMG Actives, but I'm a big fan of the EMG 89. And then Firefly should ask you to consult on their... Firefly has certain channels that they kind of go to. I'm sure everyone here has watched a video by Jimmy Stewart. I'm pretty sure that's his name. And when he turns on, look at his room. I mean, Firefly has had to send that man 70 or 80 guitars. And the whole room is just packed full of Fireflies. So that's one of the channels that they definitely go to all the time for a review. I don't know if he has something to do with the company or not, but I know that he does a lot of reviews for Firefly, and he gets all the products. I doubt very seriously that Firefly would actually reach out to me. I think I've always done honest reviews, and they haven't always gotten a great review here. There's been a couple of their guitars that fell short, and it's my job, okay, to tell you guys what I find. What I found on this guitar that I dislike, they didn't put enough screws on that rear cavity. And that's all that I can see as far as fit and finish. That's something that they should have put more screws in that cavity. As far as the finish on the guitar, it looks nice. It's a good finish on the guitar. I'm looking at a price point. Could they have polished the frets a little better? Yes, they could have. I've played other Firefly guitars that had smoother frets. But are these frets bad? No. Like I said, I think they're going to play in. I'm not seeing anything that's giving me a red flag on this instrument at that price point. I think it's a good guitar. Kurt Inscale. Firefly dropped a Firebird guitar today. It sold out in 2 hours, so I missed my chance to buy it. Is that like the Gibson Firebird? That's what I'm assuming that you're speaking of, is the Gibson Firebird. I have a brand new chrome covered pup that I can send you. Maybe you can find an axe for it. It's very sweet pickup. I just took it out of my LP I got 2 months ago. Sure, man. Or if, Jerry, we do a lot of different things. So I've noticed that you've commented a lot. You come to live streams. If you want to do something in the future and you want to order maybe a Firefly guitar or a different guitar, and you want to do some modifications to it, you can send me the guitar. We'll do the review on it. I can modify it and then send it to you, or however you want to work it. There's other people in the chat that I've done work for in the past. They can vouch for my work. And there's been other people that have sent me guitars modified, and then I've sent them to it, and it all works out. It's about the community, man. I'm just trying to find a better way of doing reviews that won't consume so much time. I'm sure the video editing, okay, as far as how this went, as far as time constraints, probably wasn't the smoothest. This is my first time doing it. I wasn't able to edit out me reaching down and getting the cord. Wasn't able to speed up the video when I was checking frets. So for some, this may be a good way of reviewing the guitar, because You're seeing it just as I'm seeing it, and there's no way that anything transpired in between. Okay? Because I've heard people say that, oh, well, you're cutting, you're slicing, you're doing this. Um, One thing that I strive to do is to be an honest channel. And I think everyone that watches my past reviews knows that. So I'm sitting here reading it. I've been eyeballing that brown burst Firefly. Brown burst. I don't know which one that one is. The humbucker is slanted, high E towards the bridge. Yes, the humbucker, the bridge plate on the humbucker does have a little bit of a tilt. So it does. But again, remember what I said, guys. This neck has a negative rake angle. So the neck is doing this in the guitar. And I prefer that. I don't like my strings to be parallel to the body. I like a little kick in the neck to where the neck kicks back. I think it makes the guitar play a little better. I can't even explain it. And it definitely helps on the Floyd Rose because it brings the bridge up a little bit to where you can get some up pulls. So that would be why they did it. Because in the review, remember I said there's more gap in the back side here than there is here as far as the spacing between the fingerboard and the body. So it definitely has a negative rake angle to the neck, which I would expect for this type of guitar. Cobra Burst.
He said the brown LP.
I'd have to go to the Guitar Garden site and see which one that you're speaking of. But if any time that you want to do that, if you go to the main page, my website or email address is there. Send me an email and we can figure something out if you want to send it to me and then modify it and I'll send it back. Because before you order from Guitar Gardens, whenever you do that, it'll cause a contradictory because you're paying with PayPal. So PayPal wants the shipping address and all that. So you got to go through and have all that finalized where you're shipping it, voices your PayPal, and it makes it. I know one subscriber had an issue with that. He thought he was sending it to me, and it ended up going to his house, and then he sent it to me. So that's something you got to pay attention to because PayPal wants to see the same address as your billing address or something, as far as your shipping. But send me an email if you want to do something like that. I have no issues doing that.
Jupe said he was talking about his EMG and his Strat. I guess that's where he meant the humbucker slanted.
Oh, yeah, well, this one's doing the exact same thing, Jude. There's no difference. Yeah, Jerry's right. It does need to match, but I'm pretty sure that you can go in and change that when you're shipping. And if not, we could work something out on the shipping. If it's sad to have to send it to you and then to me and then back and forth. I know it's been done because I forget his name sent me an E-Art guitar, but that wasn't through PayPal. That was Amazon. So that might have been the way he was able to send me the E-Art headless directly to me. Did the review, I did a setup, and then met him to deliver the guitar to him.
Honey Tap has said, anyone ever tried a Charvel DK24?
Charvel.
DK24.
I have not reviewed any Charvels on the channel, Honey Tap, if you're still in the group.
He was asking if anyone ever tried one.
I did try the blue. It's HSS. And when it first came out, it was about $1,200. And I was making payments on it at Guitar Center. And I'll be honest with you, they had two of them. And both of them had fret alignment issues. And there was a kink in the neck on both guitars. After the second one, and playing other instruments at lesser prices, then I think they were selling it to me for $1,050, which, like I said, was $1,200 normally. I ended up taking the guitar off a layaway and getting something else. I didn't feel that the quality was there, and this would have been about 1.5 years ago.
Jerry said he could chime or cash app you. We have cash app
Yeah, we have Cash App. We've used Cash App in the past on selling instruments for people and sending instruments to them. We've done Cash App.
This other person wants to know, how's the playability and is the neck chunky?
We went over neck specs earlier in the video. Um, if I remember correctly, it was like 22.5, and it's consistent. So this neck here and here is exactly the same thickness. Okay, it does not get thinner up here. So it depends on what you consider chunky. On a super shredder, 22.5 is probably a millimeter thicker than most super shredders would be, but they always get a little thicker here. So this one's staying 22.5 even down on the 12th fret. If I were, you have to go back in the video. I think it was like 22.5 or 22.75, something like that. It doesn't feel chunky to me. It feels fine. And I've played chunky guitars. This neck is definitely, in my opinion, not chunky. And it is definitely a C shape neck. It's not like the thick Gibson D shape. It's got a nice rounded feel to it.
Jerry said, okay, cool, I can just Cash App you and you order it to your address.
Oh, yeah, we could do that. We could definitely do that.
Well, he needs to send you an email or something because I'm not trying to put my Cash App out there on YouTube.
Yeah, Linnell just said we won't do the Cash App out on YouTube. So go to the main page and send us an email, and then we'll do everything via email, if that makes sense. You know, I really want to learn how to pronounce your name. I'm going to say Raja
Or Raj.
or Raj. Thank you so much, man. I know you've posted for over a year on some of the reviews, and our goal here is to be honest. You know, that was the main reason on starting the channel, is to have a place where people could get non-biased reviews. And I say that because everyone's technically biased. Everyone has a likes and dislikes, and I try not to let my likes influence. Like when I was doing this, I'm just telling you what my tooling, all my little tools, told me. And if you all want, when this video gets posted, I'll go back through and I'll make changes and I'll put chapters in and stuff like that, so you can go to those particular points. The guitar does feel heavy, so before we call it quits, I do want to weigh the guitar.
Cupid said, no, his slants, as in, instead of parallel with the bridge, the pickup at low E is closer to the neck and high E closer to the bridge, like a Kramer Baretta.
Huh.
That's how his slants.
Yeah, this one seems like the coil closer to the neck when you pull it is on. And it's so hard to tell because when you hit it with the pick, they both make noise, okay? But what I did is I scraped the pick across the top of the magnet field, the pole piece, and it seemed like it was more reactive on the one closer to the neck in the pulled position.
Jerry said he's also looking at a Solar.
Yes, I have actually been looking at Solar myself. So I have my scale here. And if you were at the beginning of the video when I first took it out of the bag, I said the guitar felt a little heavy. So let's actually see what it weighs here. I'm actually going to have to move this over a little bit. I'm on some strange unit. Hold on. All right, pound ounces, zeroed out. It is 8 pounds, 5.2 ounces. And in grams, that's 3,778 grams. So yeah, I thought the guitar was a little on the heavy side. So basically, 8 pounds and a quarter. And that I've noticed that with Firefly. I'm gonna turn my amp off, guys. Yeah, I'm looking for a sire right now. I really want a sire L7V, and I've been paying attention to Sweetwater, and the sires seem to be running 8 pounds 6 ounces to 9 pounds 2 ounces, and I'm really trying to find one at 8 pounds or 7 pounds, just a little under 8. The last time I checked, they had 8 pounds 2 ounces was the lightest one, and it seems like every time they get to 8 pounds 2 ounces, the top isn't very pretty. So the ones with the pretty flame maple tops, and I know it's a veneer on the sire. It just seems like the ones that I like the veneer on it, because Sweetwater takes a picture of every guitar. The ones I'm like, oh wow, that one's got a pretty top, and I click on it, it's at almost 9 pounds or over 9 pounds. So I'm waiting for the one that I like the top on that's going to be right at 8 pounds. And that seems to be hard to find. But they do not have the new ones in yet. They're still selling the 2024 models that still have Larry Carlton across it without the new badging on the top with the S. So the 2025 model, they changed some things. So I'm waiting for the 2025s to come out because I really want the red one. And hopefully the red one will be at 8 pounds or when Sweetwater gets one.
Devastator said it weighs about as much as my LP.
Yeah, it's heavy. I noticed that if you go back and watch the beginning of the video, as soon as I took it out of the bag, I was like, yeah, this guitar has some heft to it.
Curtain scale said it's a tank.
Yeah, it is. It does have some weight. Does anyone have any other questions as far as because I want to repost this as a review, so I want to try to do as minimum editing as I can to it. Of course, everyone knows that we do lives every Saturday night, and on Friday nights we usually do test streams where everyone just kind of gets together and we work through bugs. So, is there any other questions?
Jupe said he played a Les Paul a year ago and it was so heavy, at least 15 pounds. He said, no exaggerating, it was an older one.
The heaviest guitar Jupe I ever played, I had a 70, I think it was about a 76 Gibson Explorer Custom Shop with a factory Gigsby. And that guitar was heavy. I went to wide straps, then padded straps. That guitar, I never actually weighed it, but I know at the end of the set, I felt it on my shoulders. My first strap was real narrow and it was cutting into my neck right here. When I put the strap on, you could feel it, just cutting like right here on the shoulder. So then I got a wider strap and I put that on and it helped. But then it was like those seatbelt pads that you get for your car. I ended up getting one of those and putting on the strap so it would sit on my neck because the strap, with the wider strap, it was coming up on my neck. And then the strap was cutting into my neck with the weight. I loved the guitar. The Gigsby did okay as long as you didn't get crazy with it. But I was getting more and more into the hair stuff where, dye bombs. And it was just a big guitar. And on stage, playing the smaller places that I was playing at the time, I was hitting the cymbals, I was hitting everything. The tail sticking out of the back of the guitar was all beat up. The headstock was beat up. So I eventually ended up getting a lighter instrument, a Super Strat, and I've never went back. And Jupe says when I was a kid, I played it really early 80's. Yeah, I played I would say it would have been, because that guitar sat in the music store, and I had my first job. I'll tell you how old I am. I was not making $3 an hour. I think it was $2 and something an hour because we got paid tips. And I remember I had to work a year and a half to pay off that Gibson. And they had been in the shop for so long they agreed to it because it had been there almost 10 years and never sold. And they worked me a deal and let me make payments on it for over a year and a half. So that's how I ended up with my, well, that's the only Gibson I've ever owned. That was a Gibson, not an Epiphone. Okay, guys. Well, if no one has any questions on the Firefly, I guess we'll end it here. I know it's a Wednesday night, and I guess if this video gets some traction and it seems to do well, this may be something that we continue to do in the future. Do live stream guitar reviews. So since it is live, I ask everyone to go down in the comment section when we're done and just type something in. Make sure you hit the like button because that's going to help YouTube push the video out for other people to see it. It is a guitar review, so I'm hoping that in 6 months Firefly will continue to sell this instrument and this information will be here for other people. And for people watching in the future, if you've bought this guitar, I need you to post below. This channel is about product information, and the more people that post, the more information that's available for someone thinking about buying this guitar. So if you own it, give me a post. And if you had a completely different experience than the one that I had in this review, you definitely need to post below. Because again, the more people that post, that's information for people thinking about purchasing it. So I want to thank everyone that come in for the live to watch the channel's very first live review. Hopefully it was cool. And I'll see you guys on the Friday night stream or the Saturday night stream, depending on where you're at. Thanks, guys, so much. Without you guys, I wouldn't be able to do this. You guys give me the encouragement and everything to keep doing content. So, again, thanks so much, guys. And, like I said, thanks. I can't believe on a Wednesday night so many people come in on a review that wasn't even really posted. The guitar showed up on the front porch today, and I got home, and I'm like, let's do a live unboxing. So I'm so happy that everyone come in for the live to see this first time. All right, guys. Thank you so much.